And which one do you want me to give you control on? Which Angela?
The one that's speaking right now. So it should show my microphone's unmuted. Just leave it to that one. And also we should really let them in soon, just so some of them don't start.
Okay, because we have about 6. I give you permission.
Okay, yeah, I'll let them in now.
Okay.
People?
Hey guys, how are you? Hang in there.
Hey. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey.
Hey, Kristen.
Hey, how are you? Excited to see you guys.
Same here.
Hi, Rashini. Long time no see.
Yeah, great to see you.
Nice to see you.
Okay, hi everyone. So this is the She's in STEM summer panel. It's currently June 12th, 5 p.m. Pacific time. So welcome everyone. Thank you for all attending today. Thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to come here and spend time with us. So really quick, there's gonna be a raffle going on. So as long as you remain in the meeting, your name is gonna be entered in the raffle. The prize is an Amazon gift card, and then we'll be announcing the winners at the end of today's panel, and there'll be 2 winners. Okay, so quick introduction. I'm Angela. I'm a rising sophomore at Granada Hills Charter High School, which is in Southern California. A couple of my hobbies, I usually watch a lot of TV shows and movies, specifically comedy TV shows, one of my favorites being Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and then any Disney movie, my favorite being Zootopia, and then obviously Marvel movies, and I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I also love having fun with my family. We like playing card games, having movie nights. That's something I really enjoy getting to do because it brings me a lot of happiness. And currently within STEM, I'm interested in technology, so the computer science area. And I'm a programmer on my high school's robotics team, which is the Robodocs 599. In middle school, I also did robotics, FLL, and WRO, and I was a programmer there as well. And then I've also previously attended tech-based summer camps and conferences across middle school and my freshman year. So if any of you want to contact me afterwards, there's my email and also my Instagram in case you guys want to reach out and ask any questions, or if you want to just get in touch. And now I'll pass it over to Kirsten.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to have you, especially the industry professional people. I really appreciate you took time from your busy life and you decided to be here. I'm just so overwhelmed. I really appreciate. So my name is KERSTERN MALAMA. I work for Northrop Grumman. I graduated from California State University in manufacturing systems engineering. And I'm a founder for Girls for STEM. I have a YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Instagram, Girls for STEM. And at Northrop, I work as a quality systems engineer. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Northrop. Northrop, actually, where I work, they manufacture hardware structures that they send to space for space missions. And mostly it's used for communications. And one of the products, it's called reflectors. And one thing I'm excited about working where I am is the product that we make protects our country, United States, and also it protects the troops. And my interests are actually, I love reading, especially space explorations. I love encouraging girls pursue STEM, of course. I love sightseeing, traveling, and also spending time with my family. And one more thing I just want to say, there are women who are pursuing STEM, and these are women that are here that you're going to be hearing from. I just want to say that we need to appreciate and acknowledge and also appreciate that they have gone through the challenging of STEM and they are here to help us understand how they navigated STEM. And I'm going to pass on to our first speaker.
Okay, so we're going to start off with science today, since science is the first letter, S of STEM. So in science, we have Serena, who's from Granada Hills Charter High School, Christina, who's from HRL Laboratories, and Anna, who is from Dexcom. So we're going to begin with Serena. Okay, so Serena currently has some internet issues since she's not at home. So if possible, would the next speaker be willing to go early? I believe the next speaker is Christina.
I think she's still muted, maybe.
Yeah, I was muted. That's not a problem.
Okay, we'll just go to your slide. Sorry about that. There's a lot of internet issues. Okay,
Yes.
you can start.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Seeholzer, and I am an advanced packaging engineer at HRL Laboratories. So I'm interested in engineering research and development. To me, research is very exciting to do. How I view it is essentially we are standing on the edge of all human knowledge and are being asked to take the next step by creating and discovering really new novel devices and techniques. So that's really why, that's my main motivation for being in STEM. In my free time, I enjoy hiking and spending time with my cat. You can see her on the bottom left there. Her name is Cleo. And on the other photo, you can see this is at the top of Pine Mountain up in Fraser Park. I went there over Memorial Day weekend. It was really nice and relaxing. And a fun fact about myself, I have 6 other brothers and sisters, 2 younger sisters, 2 older sisters, and 2 older brothers. It got quite hectic at times, but it was kind of nice because if I was ever mad at one of my sisters and brothers, I had 6 others to choose from. So it was a lot of fun growing up. So next slide. So what I do specifically is I work in semiconductor engineering. And semiconductors are materials with special electronic properties. You can see some of the main ones that we use, silicon, gallium arsenide, and indium. And we essentially use these materials and different processes to build electronic components and devices. So ranging from the really small transistors that are in your computers all the way up to actual devices. And what you see on the bottom right there is what's called a focal plane array. And it is a sensor for picking up infrared radiation. Next slide. So more specifically, I am an advanced packaging engineer. So I get to design and build enclosures for all of these microscopic devices that get built. So you see the silicon wafer, that's essentially the starting point. And we send it through our fabrication facility and it goes through all these different processes, and what you end up with is what you see on the right there, which is a silicon wafer with these devices still attached on them to the wafer, but also packaged just so we can take it straight from the silicon wafer onto the bigger systems that they're a part of. So my journey into STEM started in high school. I participated in the first robotics competition, and my team was Team 1070, the Royal Robotrons. And we actually worked rather closely with the RoboDocs. Since they were right next to CSUN and we worked out of the robotics lab at CSUN, there was a lot of, we got to work with them quite a bit. And it was really nice because my high school was an all-girls school. So we were an all-girls team and we were one of the very few at the time. And that sort of carried over throughout high school and really sort of set the foundation for me wanting to become an engineer. And I was really lucky to be surrounded by like-minded people and to have mentors that really encouraged this decision to enter engineering. So that brought me to California State University, Northridge, where I decided to study mechanical engineering and physics. What you can see here is a picture of myself and also Roshini, who's going to be speaking, or I think she's here on the line tonight. We were in a club together called the Society of Women Engineers. And that was really essential in my time at CSUN, was again, just being around these amazing women who were like-minded and just as motivated to pursue this career in STEM. So I had a lot of fun at school. My final design project in order to graduate was designing a prosthetic limb. So you can see that on the far right there, the design that we had finally decided to build. We named it the My Own, and it was a 3D printed prosthetic limb for amputees with transradial amputations, which means they had loss of limb below the elbow. So that was really exciting to be able to build a product that could directly impact and improve the quality of life for amputees. So during my time at CSUN, I was very lucky to be able to intern at HRL Laboratories. In the picture below, you can see an educational tour that we had with some of the engineering clubs at CSUN. And the man in the white lab coat standing next to me is one of my engineering professors, and he recommended me for my internship. And so it was really great to have professors, to be able to talk to and sort of be a mentor for me along the way. So next slide. So I think being in this field for semiconductors is incredibly beneficial. I like to think of semiconductors as the brains of electronics. And you can see that they're an integral part of almost everything in our daily lives. You think about computers and the microprocessors, the memory, the graphic processing units. They help your machines run smoothly. They protect your battery and your whole system from burning up while you play video games. Even for communications, semiconductors act to control machine functions. And the difference is the type of chips that they use and what they're used for. And you think about transportation, cars, buses, trains. These are just bigger devices that use semiconductors. So for example, GPS or Wi-Fi, you can appreciate how useful it is to call out to Siri or to Google and have them direct you if you're lost due to, you're just lost on the road. So it's semiconductors are just an important part of, all of these different fields and just across all of our daily lives. So. Now, my advice to all the girls out there who are considering STEM is that you will never be alone in your effort. For me, the Society of Women Engineers was an incredible network of women that I could talk to. They could understand my problems and the situations that I was in because they themselves were facing the same issues. And I have to say, being surrounded by just such incredible women was also very encouraging for me to continue in my career path. And I can't say that I'd be where I am today if I had not joined the Society of Women Engineers when I was in school. So the SWE is geared towards women in college, but there's also a subsidiary called SWE Next, and these are for girls who are under the age of 18. And they essentially provide different types of programming to help females under the age of 18 to develop different leadership skills, and they really encourage the self-confidence to help these girls succeed in a career in engineering and technology. So I think if you were looking to join a community, I would definitely encourage you to join SWE and SWE Next and search it out. You can Google it and find links to sign up for your local chapters. They have them across Southern California, and they also have the college chapters at each university. Reach out, and so if you're ever interested, I'll leave my contact information in the chat box, and feel free to send me an email and I can direct you towards the appropriate people.
Okay, thank you. So okay, so let's move on to our next speaker. So Serena is now here, so we're gonna go to her. So let me back it up to her slide. And Serena, whenever you're ready, you can start.
Hi, so my name is Serena, and I will give a little bit of context first off. I currently couldn't be at my house right now, so I apologize for the awkward background. But I will start off with introducing myself. I'm currently a rising senior at Granada Hills Charter High School, so that means I will be a senior this year. And my interests are pretty broad, but specifically it's in scientific multidisciplinary research in the field of social advocacy. And just to give a little bit of definition of what that exactly is, multidisciplinary research is focusing on different fields of research, or specifically one scientific research question using multiple different backgrounds of science. So that could range anything from computer science, behavioral science, biology, chemistry. It's incorporating different lenses together. And as for social advocacy, it's basically working with the field of humanitarian law to incorporate science with it. So basically we use our scientific researches to help people who are working in the human rights field specifically. Just a little bit more about my hobbies. I'm a speechy, which means that I'm on the speech team in my high school. So one of my favorite activities is just being a speaker. And I played the piano. I've been playing it for about, I believe, 9 years. And I'm a coder. I just love to code in my free time. And if any of you are curious, I code in Java, in JavaScript, HTML, Python. So it ranges in terms of coding. And finally, a little bit more about myself. I love to travel. I always try to find time for myself to travel to a new country because I just love to be in touch with different cultures and languages. And I think that explains the next point, and that's that I speak 5 languages altogether, and it mostly came from my traveling. So just a little bit about the field that I mostly focus on, which I had previously stated before. It's multidisciplinary research. So far, what I have done with all my research projects have had the fields of social and behavioral science, computer science, medicine, and anatomy. For example, this year specifically, I worked on a certain project that was tackling the issues of opioid crisis. We were trying to find out whether different prescribers are more prone to prescribing different kinds of opioids, depending on their patient's political party. But we did that specifically using scientific data and computer science to track the parties of each individual. So as you can see, it had a little bit of every single field to tackle one certain research question. A little bit more about this field. Our main purpose is just to analyze and determine answers to implication-based questions. As I said before, we specifically work with people who are in the social advocacy field to see if our scientific researches and findings could actually help them anyway with their field. And that's why I specifically say that multidisciplinary research is focused on implication-based questions, because always when we're starting out our project, we're thinking of our research question, and the very next step is thinking if our research question can actually help answer a certain problem. And then a little bit more about the field. We draw qualitative evidence to determine connections between social-based questions. So you may be wondering what type of data we specifically work with to answer these questions, and that's just basically qualitative data. And for those of you who don't know, there's qualitative data and quantitative data. Quantitative data is mainly focused on analyzing data that are mostly in numbers and can be actually inputted into our computer science programs. But for qualitative data, it's mostly analyzing if our answers can come from interviews or words specifically, if that makes sense. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I actually got interested in STEM. But first off, I will talk about how it has felt like. You know, it's no secret that the STEM field itself is mainly male dominated, which is kind of unfortunate because it's important to have a balance. For that reason, it was always really difficult for me to have a certain conversation and actually feel like the implications and the ideas that I presented to my male peers actually were being heard, and to them it had some sort of quality. But even with this challenge, it still felt empowering because the idea of just being a female in a sea of males in this field, it just makes me stand out and try to prove my abilities, disregarding the fact that I'm female, because that doesn't really affect in any way how we perceive problems, because both genders do perceive problems and try to answer research questions the same. So for that reason, it has been very, very empowering. I started off my STEM interest in freshman year and specifically also in middle school, but I pursued it in freshman year of high school. In this picture, you see it's me presenting a robotic hand. So during the freshman year of high school, I created a robotic hand using recyclable materials. And this was just a way for me to invent or engineer a certain device without the big cost of it, because currently a robotic hand is so useful in the medicine field, but unfortunately it costs a wide range amount. So that's the reason why I decided to use recyclable materials to see if we can have the same device function the same way that a robotic hand does without recyclable materials. And my interest came from middle school. And I know that recently middle schools have been starting to implement certain programs. Mine did that, however, very late. So it was only in 8th grade when I actually decided to join the STEM program. And that's where I started to discover how fun it is to just interact and discuss with many people on a certain issue or problem that we're working on to tackle. I also have a part in the science fair team, and I do research in the Margon lab at Cedars-Sinai. A little bit about the benefits of the field. So as I said multiple times before, we're focusing on a problem using different perspectives and lenses. So that's why it helps us to analyze complex problems. For example, certain research questions are mainly heavily focused on the field of chemistry or biology. But because we're using many fields in science to answer a certain problem, we're able to analyze problems that weren't necessarily able, some certain researcher in a specific field was able to answer, because we're putting all our thoughts together to answer the problem. It also helps us to understand the perspective and the lenses of others, because that's a very important thing in the research world. You always want to be working with people, and when you're working with people, it's really important to understand their ideas and thoughts, and take that into account when you're analyzing your research problem. We also allow for girls to be exposed to multiple different fields in STEM, because it's using fields like computer science, biology, chemistry, social behavioral science, and so many more. We're basically helping people, and specifically girls, to be exposed to these different fields all at once in this multidisciplinary research world. So I did have a long range of advice for girls who are either starting off in the STEM field or just continuing their journey. First of all, when you're in this STEM world or in the STEM field, it's really important to network. That's like the number one thing: network, network, network. You have to be able and to have the courage to talk to different people in the field, whether that be your professors, your teachers, or just even if you're seeing like a doctor on the street one day, you want to be able to talk to them and ask them how they got interested in their field, what they do in their field, and really understand their perspective, because it's important to network with them in the hopes of them giving you a project to work on, or giving you the support and resources to answer your research question, or whatever it is that you have an interest in doing in the STEM field. It's also important to invest all your efforts into science research projects. As I mentioned before, I'm in the science fair team. I'm sure many of you have heard of science fair, where, you know, we all have that stereotypical thought that it's just, you know, us standing in front of a couple of judges with a board behind us that we worked on our project. But actually it's more than that. It allows you to work on research projects, and mainly it focuses on the field that you're interested in. You want to look for a research project where you're encouraged to build a new device, invent something, use your computer science abilities to create a new program. That's mainly what it is you want to do when you enter into the STEM field. And most importantly, you want to pursue a field in STEM that interests you. If you're someone who's not interested in, let's say, social behavioral science, you're not going to put your all into that project. But if it's something that genuinely interests you, it's going to be like almost like your baby. You're going to want to work on it all the time. And yeah, and so another advice is that you want to test all your interests that you have in science fair projects. I know that many of us might be a little bit scared to pursue science fair projects, just because, you know, it's always been the school that has encouraged us to do it, and it's always ended up as an assignment, more of something that we're interested in. But if you're taking on questions that, you know, you're trying to answer on your day-to-day life, then science fair projects are the best place for you to actually test them out and see if your interest follows them. And something to see throughout the STEM field, whether that is, you know, you're doubting yourself, because I know that it's going to happen a lot to some of us, especially since we're girls, and doubting ourselves in the male-dominated field is sometimes bound to happen. So when that happens, check your change. That's my little motto in life, and that basically means think about the first time you actually entered into the field, and think about where you are now. Just think about how much you've grown since then. And then you'll understand that you have a long way ahead of you to grow even more. But it helps you to understand that you need to be proud of the progress that you've been making so far. And just some YouTube channels, some places that you can check out if you're interested in any science fair. I'll keep saying this because it's just to analyze your interest. But also She Can STEM. If you look on their social channels, if you Google them, you'll see that they have multiple different resources for those of you who are interested in pursuing a project in the STEM field. AI Hacks, actually one of my friends started this program, AI Hacks, which basically is like kind of a camp during the summer you go to that helps you work with artificial intelligence and really understand how it works. But specifically, you'll also learn how to program different so sorry about that. I lost my connection a bit. But I'm just going to finish it up. There is also Girl Coders that you can check out. I'm sure many of you have heard of Girl Coders, but it's specifically for people and girls who are interested in computer science.
Okay, thank you so much,
And,
Serena.
Yeah.
Oh, go on. You can go on.
I was just going to say that if you want to contact me, I did attach my email to the last slide. So yeah.
I don't think it showed up in the slides. Do you think you could put it in the chat?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in the meantime, we'll move on to our next speaker. So whenever you are ready.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna. I just wanted to quickly check if you guys can hear me. I'm having connection issues as well. Okay, cool. I'm doing this presentation from my phone, so hopefully everything goes well. So my name is Anna Karaliva, and I guess the category that I was put on is science, but I am an engineer at Dexcom, a process engineer. But my journey did start with research at UCSD at Nanobioprinting lab. And like I said, I'm interested in science, technology, and engineering. It was hard to pick one. And obviously, math is also present in all of these fields as well. So I would say research and development, that's the field I'm in right now. And that's the field I enjoy the most. In my free time, I enjoy surfing, fitness, hiking, snorkeling, all sorts of active exercises. I've taught some fitness classes at UCSD as well. So I'm trying to stay fit and encourage others to do the same. The fun fact is about me is that I snorkeled with a whale shark, and I have a picture down below just to show some of you what whale sharks look like, because I had no idea what they look like. They're pretty docile creatures that eat plankton, so they're not they're not predators. So, but they're rather large and intimidating. And we can move on to the next slide. So the field that I was involved at UCSD was nanotechnology. My major was in chemical engineering with nanoengineering focus. And just to give you an idea what nanoengineering or nanotechnology is and where it is being used, it is being used everywhere from semiconductors. Everything in our world is getting smaller and more compact, right? Our cell phones are smaller. Sorry, I apologize. Our cell phones are getting smaller and smaller. So we're using smaller processors, smaller computers, something that's very compact that we can always carry around with us. So there's some scale examples of what nano scale is. And it's on a scale of a molecule, right? That's how big glucose molecule is. It's on a nanoscale. And then you can see that even bacteria or viruses are a little bit larger than that. And definitely even human cells are larger than nanoscale. Let me think real quick. 1 second. Having issues here. I apologize. I don't know.
You're muted. We can't hear you.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. So yes, just quickly to kind of recap on how I got involved into nanoengineering. And UCSD is one of the top universities for bioengineering. So there's a lot of bioscience and engineering. And at UCSD, I met one of my professors who was who was doing a very engaging and very fun research. And I was very interested in it. And I asked him a lot of questions. And he said, why don't you come and join my lab? And that's how my journey started in Dr. Chan's lab. So we can go to the next slide, and I can tell you a little bit more about that research that I was doing there. So we were working on bioprinting, and it was not in traditional way that you guys would imagine printing point by point with some ink. We were working with cells and some hydrogels that were photosensitive. So we were using elements in photolithography to encapsulate our cells. And briefly, I want to explain what it looks like. So from the computer, you have a 2D design of any cell or like a tissue graft that you want. Here, I think it's a hepatocytes or liver cells. And you feed that design into a small chip that has micro mirrors. They can flip on and off depending on your design. And that projection then goes down below onto your photosensitive material, which actually has cells in them, like a suspension, right? And you encapsulate these cells in different micromimetic microarchitectures or nanoarchitectures, very similar to what the tissue would look like. And on the next slide, I think I have a video of some of the encapsulating cells. Let's see if it plays. I don't know if it will. You might want to click one more time just to see if it goes. So yeah, one more time, I guess. So it plays. Oh no, sorry, go back. back. So this was a video of cardiomyocytes or heart cells encapsulating within our hydrogel in striations. And I wanted to show you that they are actually, once you encapsulate those cells, they're still alive and they're beating and they actually contract on their own. That's one of the functions of heart cardiomyocytes that they have. Unfortunately, video didn't play. This is a microscopic video. I don't know why, but that's okay. So yes, with that research, we were able to design kidney, heart, liver tissues, and use those tissues as platform for different drug studies, and maybe possibly eliminate studies on animals that way. And with using human cells also, it becomes more of a patient-specific technology, so and patient-specific medicine. So we can literally take your cells, propagate them, encapsulate them, and have I don't know, maybe like a heart tissue for you if you had a heart attack or whatnot. Oops, sorry again. And Dexcom is glucose monitoring. They're also using nanotechnology and bioprinting, but for different reason. We are producing glucose monitoring devices, right? Which helps you to understand what your glucose level is at any time and where it's headed to. So this is like one example of one of our devices. You can see a small patch on the bottom that gets attached to the patient, and it inserts a very small sensor which doesn't go straight to your blood. It stays in interstitial tissue, and it reads your glucose levels. Those are specific for people who specifically have diabetes or pre-diabetic disorders. It's very important for them to track at a current moment what their glucose levels are. So that's what we do at Dexcom. And on the next slide, I believe there's a little example of how it looks for current. Currently, you can use this device for 10 days. And what I'm working on in kind of on how to extend this life time of our product, because it would be nice that you could just stick something to yourself and use it for like a month or longer. But as of right now, the life time is 10 days, and it helps our patients significantly to avoid finger sticks. So you only have this one stick, which is very significantly smaller than a regular prick or a finger stick, and you can have it anywhere on your body. So yes, next slide, please. Okay, so my journey to STEM started with community college, and that's all the way. That's my picture on the left. I started with a chem lab. I was working at the chem lab at community college. I was also part of robotics club in community college. Prior to transferring to UCSD, I found out that there is transfer support groups or that they can help you to transition from one university to another or one college to another. So I used Transfer Prep Idea to kind of give me an idea of what UCSD would be like. And so I could take the full advantage of what university had to offer. And the picture all the way on the right shows me being excited joining the lab. One of the labs I joined was electrochemical sensors. They were tattoo printed sensors that you print on your skin, and they were sensing for different either alcohol level in your blood or like glucose level as well. So we were working on some groundbreaking research. The next slide. So picture on the left is me in the lab. Sometimes when we would have to collect some tissues or cells from animals, we would have to actually perform like little mini surgeries. So that's my lab mates, and we're all together. We were performing a little surgery on the pig to collect the tissue from the pig. Yeah, after that, shortly after that, I joined Tau Beta Pi, which is Engineering Honor Society. A picture on the right, me presenting my research at Harvard University. Yeah, and the next slide, please. And that's all mixed up, but yes, a picture on the left, me graduating, and then again, presenting or visiting some of the National Colleague Research Conferences on the picture on the right. Next slide, please. So why I got into nanoengineering? Like I said, it's a field, it's a multidisciplinary field that involves so many different things, and I get bored easily with just sticking with one thing. So, you know, sky's the limit there. You can target your goals or target yourself towards maybe medicine or just biology or just chemistry or electronics and so on and so forth. So, but mainly I think my love for people, and I feel very sadly when people suffer. I volunteer at the hospital as well. And it just really, really hurts me to see human suffering. And that's why I think I wanted to have some sort of impact. And that's why I joined like nanoengineering and bioprinting to begin with. And next slide, please. Okay, so my advice would be no different than from Sabrina or the other panelist. You know, get involved in as many things that as you can that interest you. It's really hard to determine what you would like or what you would not like. So, but by trying different things, that's how you actually understand, oh my gosh, I really like this research and this is something I can do without even people paying me for it. That's what my research was. I started out as volunteering, and then you start getting paid for your work as well. So yes, if you have a professor that you're interested in, if you read something on the internet that you think, wow, this is an interesting research, just reach out and apply for different membership or research positions if that's something that you're interested in. Another thing I wanted to say, something that I struggled with is asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no such thing as stupid question. Oops, sorry. The more questions you ask, the more of a subject matter expert you become. And yeah, create study groups with like-minded people. That's exactly what I did as well. When you teach somebody something, you understand the subject better. Volunteer or shadow professionals. You can email them always. Use professional support in groups and organizations such as SWE, Society of Women Engineers, that was mentioned before. IDEA, that was something specific to UCSD. That was a transfer group that helps you with your adjustment when you're a transfer student. And NETS is NanoEngineering and Technology Society. So that's also, I believe, specific to UCSD as well. You can always reach out to me. I left my email right there. It's sand_me_letters@yahoo.com. I will be more than happy to help you guys out or answer any questions that you might have. And here's some useful links that you can also use for good research literature: Science Direct, Nature.com, Tau Beta Pi is an honor society. And yeah, NETS, I believe, in the last one I can't see, sorry. Oh, that's idea transfer. This is just something that I used, but there's so many more, obviously. Thank you for your time, and I apologize if my connection was spotty. But yeah, feel free to reach out and ask any questions that you guys might have.
Okay, thank you so much. So now we're going to move on to the Q&A area, or the Q&A segment. So during this time, anyone, any participant, or any other fellow panelist, if they have a question for any of the three people who have just spoken, you can drop it in the chat or you can unmute.
Let me go first. I have a question for Serena. I just want to know, how did you know that you would do STEM? Did you have anyone around you? What would you say to a girl growing up who's about 3, 4, 5 years old going up? Did you have anyone around you who you saw was an engineer or a scientist or something like that? I hope Serena is here, she's hearing me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about the noise in the background, but I did actually have people around me who were in STEM. My siblings, in fact, are both doctors, so they were both really experienced in the area of STEM. But if I'm being truly honest, because they weren't around as much, I didn't really have the...
We can move on. There are some questions in the chat. So since the participants didn't exactly specify who they were asking, each panelist can go and take turns, answering the question. So the first question is, thinking about how much you learned from school, how much did it benefit your work?
I can answer that. So almost every aspect of my courses that I took in college, I utilize in my work, doing research. And this ranges from mechanical design, using like these different computer aided design programs, to even just a fundamental theory of like heat transfer, So for packaging, one major aspect of the electronics that we build is thermal management. And so we have to be aware of how heat transfers in these devices. And so I use a lot of the, the foundational knowledge that I learned in heat transfer to apply to thermal management of electronics in packaging. So I think it may be a little bit different just because of the nature of my research. I do HRL is an industrial research and development facility. We're owned by Boeing and GM. And so we're sort of in between academia and industry research, but again, it's very heavily research based. And so I do rely on a lot of the fundamentals that I learned in my courses to do my actual work.
Yeah, I could agree with you as well. Since I'm an R&D as well, you use a lot of your classes or knowledge that you learned in research. However, if I do my engineering duties, like for process engineering, I would say the background is important, but I'm not using as much of like academia knowledge for just like engineering or like designing a process, not necessarily. But yeah, I would say research and development is heavily, relies heavily on your academic knowledge. And you honestly, something that you didn't know, you can always look up and learn. So that's the beauty of it too. And I love learning more. So that's actually a challenge, you know, sometimes you want to do it because you want to tackle it.
Yeah, and to add on to that, even though I got my degree in mechanical engineering, engineering is really more of a mindset than it is just something that you do. The way that I see engineering is just the way that you are asked to think through a problem. And just the fact that I'm a mechanical engineer is just a series of facts that I know about that particular field. So, there's always room to move to a different field, especially within R&D. That's why I enjoy it so much. Like, Anna was saying, it's you really have a great opportunity to learn different things. Like one aspect of my work that never came up in my schooling was electroplating. So it's essentially just coating different materials with metals. And, I had only ever taken like one chemistry course in college. And so to go do something that is very heavily based in chemistry is just, it was really exciting to be able to get to do. So I think being in this field, you also get a lot of opportunities to take on different kinds of work. So.
Okay, Serena, do you want to also answer the question? Okay, she might have some issues with connection right now. So we can move on to the next question. Next question is, were you ever discouraged to do STEM since it was a male-dominated area?
I don't think it was ever an active discouragement, but it was definitely hard to get through being male dominated. So that's why it was so important to have, these female peers and who just really understood the problems that we faced as women in STEM.
Yeah, I think I was discouraged not only because it was male dominated. Sometimes you doubt yourself. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm not really that smart as this other person. I don't understand this concept. And that's what I guess my advice comes to asking questions. It's okay not to understand certain things. You will understand it because we all have different learning capabilities, and some people are more visual, some people are more auditorial. They like to hear stuff, writing stuff. So just find out what works for you and own it. That's all I have to say. You will have doubts no matter what in your life, but like looking back and we're like, okay, where you came from and where you are and how much you know. And maybe sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't think I will ever get this concept, and you will, and you do. You're like, you if I've done this, I think I can do the other thing as well. So yeah, look back and don't get discouraged. And yes, and Society of Women Engineers is a very helpful resource where you can kind of bounce off your ideas of your peers.
I think going through the list, since we have quite a few questions here, I think Gloria had asked, what's the biggest challenge that you faced at work or at school? I think like some of the biggest challenges is just this constant state of being uncomfortable because you're learning something new, or like Anna had said, there's some self-doubt there. And I think, I just want to say that it's okay to be uncomfortable when pursuing these fields, because it is really difficult. And if you really take a look at the entire population, there's not a whole lot of people who pursue STEM. So the decision to pursue it, you're already a couple standard deviations away from the average population. So I think that in of itself is a great victory. But yeah, I think it's just, always just being uncomfortable. It's, difficult to come to terms with it sometimes. But again, it's, you just have to sort of buckle down and persevere and just get through it, because it's possible. And there's definitely a lot of support, that is out there to help you get through these challenges.
I would answer this question by, so when I first studied at Dexcom, they don't have a structure, I would say like a strict structure of how they train you. You basically, the world is your oyster, you can do anything you want in there, and that many possibilities can be overwhelming. So for me, that was hard. It's like, what did I start with? What did I do? And again, asking questions or just trying things out will help you to narrow down your decisions, or what you like, or what you likes or dislikes.
So sorry. I actually just got my connection back. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties. But for the question itself, I wanted to say that yes, I've had my moments where I felt discouraged in the field of STEM. Just to give a little bit of story, I did take a physics class back in freshman year, and physics and honestly any field in STEM for that matter has a lot of male students who are interested in it. But it was never because females weren't interested in it that the class was mostly male dominated. It was basically because most females saw, oh, there are a wide number of males attending the class, so I fear that enrolling in the class might make me feel left out. That was a hesitation that I also had before enrolling in the class. Eventually, I did have one of the people who I completely credit to for my STEM accomplishments, and that is my teacher in the chemistry class that I had back in middle school. And she said, if you don't feel, if you love the field of STEM, but don't feel empowered enough to enroll the class simply because there are more male enrolled in the class, then you'll never have the opportunity to actually thrive in the field itself. So that's when I realized that it was important for me to enroll in the class and pursue my interest in STEM, because, despite the male-dominated class, it was very, very important for me to take my first step into the field of STEM to eventually thrive in it. And honestly, it should never ever let something as simple as, oh, there are more males in the classroom, so I can't enroll, to bring you down from pursuing your passions. And I know that sounds very cliche, but it's true. And there's a reason why it's been said so many times, because there have been people who have experienced the same thing as me. And that's why I decided to just completely disregard the fact that the class was mostly male dominated, and I decided to enroll in the class.
Wow, that is just so inspiring. And one thing I see this drive in all the women that are speaking right now. I see a common fight in all the women, you know, that just that drive of going to get, you know, to want to learn, to want to get to another level, you know, despite of anything going on. That's what I sense in all the women. And that's just so inspiring. So the other question I wanted to ask whilst we're waiting for Angela, I'm not sure what's going on, but I wanted to ask you women also, we still have maybe some questions on the line. I'm not sure if we do. Do we have any questions? Maybe before I ask the question that I have.
I think there's just one question about books or videos that grew your STEM interest.
Yeah, maybe you can take that one before we go to my question.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say like so I think I have more websites that were that I browsed often that really grew my interest in STEM. A lot of those were from the NASA JPL. From NASA JPL, they have really great people who are on LinkedIn that share a lot of information and videos and pictures of all of the missions that they work on. So like for me, just browsing these people's pages, it was just really inspiring and really awesome to see like the work that they do at NASA JPL. And I'd have to say that a lot of these technology companies, the way that they utilize social media is really great now, because you just have, you know, first sort of hand look into the work that they do. So yeah, books, videos. Yeah, I would say more along the lines of videos that were interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough to recall. I would agree with Tina. It's tough to recall which particular like video links I used to watch. I think I was more like reading the research papers from like scientific sites. And I think a great point that Tina brought up is actually going through LinkedIn. That's a very interesting, that's how you can grow your network. And that's how you can get understanding of what other people are doing. Yeah, and learn from them and even ask questions, and maybe they can point you in the right direction too. But yeah, in terms of videos and specifically, there's not that many videos, I would say, unfortunately. But maybe somebody else knows some of them.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay, and then did you have a role model when you were during your career? Did you have a role model in your life, like someone you were, you know, aspiring to?
I would say my husband was my biggest supporter. I wouldn't say he was my role model, but like whenever I had doubts, he would say, he would always like cheer me on. It's like, yes, you can do it. You've done this. You came to another country, you learned another language. You can do that too. So yeah, I would say support structure is very important. And that's where it could be your family or your friends or people who are just working on the same project with you. But having a particular role model, you know, you have them all around you, you know, your professors, your friends, your family, your parents. So that's who you do it for, yourself and for them as well, I guess.
That's true. And Christina?
I don't think that I have specific role models, but when I was in high school doing the first robotics, the team mentors were great. They were engineers themselves, and you know, they're our main mentor, Tariq Shabati, his daughters went to the school, and I think he was just so instrumental in setting up the team and ensuring that we were, you know, got the hands-on experience, and that also we didn't feel like outsiders for being an all-female team. It was just like quite unusual for FIRST Robotics at the time, just to have all-female teams. And so he really sort of laid that groundwork and was the support structure that like we needed as, you know, high schoolers to not feel like what we had to offer was not valid. So actually, so my specific role model would be Dr. Shabadi. He was a professor at Cal State Northridge, and now he, I believe, works for the FIRST Robotics education.
I'd say my role model was my sister specifically. She is about 7 years older than me, so she definitely experienced the STEM field a lot, way earlier than I did. But just for a little bit of context, we were, me and my sister actually were born and we grew up in the Middle East. In the Middle East specifically, there are not that many opportunities for women. So for that reason, she was completely dependent on either being, you know, an assistant to a doctor, being an assistant to an engineer. And that's definitely not something she was interested in. She wanted to be, you know, the doctor or the engineer. So for that reason, she was left with no choice but to pursue her chances in another place, and that was the US. But it took her so much convincing and so many speeches to our parents to eventually allow her to move to the US. But, you know, just to see that she had that courage to stand up to her parents, to completely move to a new place simply to pursue her interest in the STEM field was absolutely inspiring to me. So that's why she's one of my biggest role models.
Wow, that's really interesting. And if I can share, same with me, I had not even known that I should have a role model in my life. I think that was just this part of me that just wanted to do, pursue STEM all the time. But statistics and science says most girls, they can be encouraged to pursue STEM if they see a role model, somebody who looks like them, especially women I know who look like them. And this, what we have here, you know, just gives more, it validates more to those that are aspiring to be in STEM, that it doesn't matter if you don't see someone or if you don't have someone, but there are just things in your life that just start, you know, coming together as you keep pushing. So that's just what I wanted to say. So I'll hand over to Angela.
I think there's one more question in the chat. I know Christina already responded, which is amazing, but if Anna or Serena want to add on, the question is, do you know of any good middle school clubs or programs for girls looking into science?
So I never attended middle school in US. I don't know, unfortunately, but I would agree with Christina that SWE is the best source. I'm pretty sure they have local chapters in middle schools. So yeah, that wouldn't be the best source for that though.
I would say a program that I mentioned earlier was AI Hacks. So I would definitely recommend searching up AI Hacks. They they're both programmed for both high school and middle school students.
Also, it looks like we have another question. How did you decide on which STEM field to pursue?
I can tell you my story. All the fields are so interconnected and multidisciplinary that you get to try different things. You get to design, have some CAD designs, you get to do some chemistry and analytical work, statistics, everything. So I wouldn't say like I'm narrowed in certain things. I guess medical devices, because it felt very close to home that I'm helping people directly. But it was just within me. I don't know, wanted to help people always but all the fields of STEM are interconnected. You can't separate them.
Yeah.
For the STEM field, so for mechanical engineering, when I did robotics in high school, it just felt like the natural transition to go from robotics to mechanical engineering. And also, I really enjoyed building things. When I was young, my father would work on a lot of projects around the house, and I'd always go and help him out. And like that just sort of instilled this sort of natural love for building. So that just seems like the path to go. And that just really solidified once I joined robotics. So.
I'm actually still a high school student, so I never had the chance to really find a specific field in STEM that I would want to pursue, which is why I'm so focused on multidisciplinary research. I just want to get a taste of everything, basically.
Okay, so if we have no questions at this point, we are planning to schedule a break in between science and technology just to give everyone a chance to, relax or get some, or, prepare themselves for the upcoming session on technology. So we're going to come back at 6:50. So that's a 30-minute break. So if you want to just go do something else, maybe take a walk outside, we'll all see you back here at 6:50. So you can stay in the meeting if you want and just remain with your camera off and your mic off. And also, if you look in the chat, Christina is posting some amazing resources for girls looking into science. So we will see you soon. We hope everyone gets a chance to refresh and rejuvenate themselves for 7 o'clock or 6:50.
All right. Thank you.